So this is where we left off. We just created a very basic form. And I'm going to use this as an example of how we can actually process inputs from the form. Now, before we go much further, I'll just go over the form elements here. Currently, we have an action of nothing. Now we need to send this form to a processing script. And I've created a processing script called html-form-processor.php. So in here, I need to put that name. So html form processor.php. The method is post. My first input is the surname, and here we see the name of this input is surname, so I need to remember that. Then we have the gender, and we have a submit button. So that all seems fairly okay. Let's go across to the form processor. Now in here, before we go much further, I just want you to see what the posted inputs look like. And what we can do something called print_r, and then we say what we're printing. Well, in round brackets, I want to print the post data. Now if I save that, I'll go across to here. This is my input form. Just let me refresh now that I've updated it. Okay, so I'll just pop my surname in. Now I'll put Morrow and mail and submit. And there we go, get this array back with all of this data in here. And it looks a little bit confusing. So what I'll do, just to make it a little bit easier, let's go into here. I'll just echo pre. That's like a pre-format for a code. We'll save this, go back to here, and we'll refresh. And there we go. That makes it a little bit easier. So we can see the surname is Morrow, the gender is male, and obviously the submit button as well. Now obviously what I want to do, I want to work with the data that's been submitted. So the first thing I can do, I can say is declare a variable of surname, and I want that to be equal to post in square brackets and then tick marks surname. So this here refers to this here. So that's the name of that input field. So I'm assigning that input field to my variable called surname. I can do the same thing with gender. So gender equals post, square brackets, tick marks, and gender. And all I want to do here is just to echo something like your surname is, then we can concatenate on surname, and your gender is, and then we just concatenate on here gender. Can save that, go back to here, and we'll refresh. And there we go, your surname is Morrow and your gender is male. Now we do have a bit of a problem here, and you probably won't realize what it is, but what if I visit this page without having submitted anything in the form? In other words, let me just go to here, I'll just press enter, and you can see we've got an issue here. It doesn't know what surname is, and it doesn't know what gender is. So what we need to do, we need to put a little test in here. So if something is true, then we're going to do something. So if something is true, do something. Now the something we're going to do is all of this. So let me cut that and we'll paste it in here. We'll just indent that. And the test we're going to do is we're going to test if the submit button has been pressed. There are other tests we could perform as well, but we'll keep it fairly straightforward for the time being. So if is set, and then run brackets. So we're going to test if something has been set. And in here, what we want to test is post submit. Now there's a lot of brackets going on here, so you need to be careful. But that's going to test if the submit button has been pressed. If the submit button has been pressed, then we'll go ahead and we'll process all of this. So let me go back to here and refresh, and this time I should get a blank screen. There we go. Now obviously I could put further tests in here that if it hadn't been submitted or pressed, I could echo, please fill in the details, I can send them back to the form, etc. So what's actually happening here, we're testing if the submit button has been pressed. If it has, then we're doing all of this. And obviously we could perform further checks, and for any input form, we would actually perform more checks than this anyway. But it's the first one we're doing, so let's keep it simple.